Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are looking at an absolute masterclass in sweet public revenge. Trust me, you do not want to miss the ending of this one. Before we dive into this beautiful disaster, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It takes 1 second and guarantees your front row seat to our weekly stories of calculated karma. Now, grab a drink, get comfortable, and prepare to enjoy the show. Let's begin. My fiancé went on Instagram Live to 15,000 of her followers while her lover was in our apartment. She told her chat that I was on a business trip. She was wrong about that. What she didn't know was that the trip had been cancelled 3 days earlier, that I was watching her stream from my car in the driveway, and that her parents, her 2 brothers, and her grandmother were already inside the building lobby, holding a cake, waiting for me to text them the word "now." I sent the text. We all walked in together. Her family thought it was a romantic surprise. Her 15,000 followers watched it happen in real time. The stream ran for another 4 minutes before anyone remembered to turn it off. Here is exactly how I built it. Some context on who I am, because it matters to how I approached this. I'm 30 years old. I work in quantitative research. I build financial models for a living, which means my entire professional existence is structured around identifying signal within noise, testing hypotheses with incomplete information, and making decisions without the emotional latitude to be wrong about them. I am, by disposition and by training, not a reactive person. I also don't make accusations I can't support. Her name was Priya, 26, aspiring lifestyle influencer, genuinely charismatic on camera in the way that some people are simply built for that medium. She had grown her following steadily over 18 months, beauty content, relationship content, the curated domesticity that a certain section of the internet consumes voraciously. She had reached 15,000 followers around the time we got engaged, and she had announced the engagement in a reel that got more views than anything she had posted before, which she mentioned several times over the following week. Her family was traditional in the way that carries real weight, not performative conservatism, but genuine cultural values around loyalty, commitment, and reputation. Her father had welcomed me with warmth and seriousness in equal measure. Her father had told me the night I asked for their blessing that their daughter's honor was a responsibility I was being trusted with. I had meant it when I agreed. Priya, I would learn, had a different relationship with that concept. The first signal I couldn't explain away came about 4 months into our engagement. Small things. Inconsistencies in her timeline, a name that appeared in her phone's notification bar twice in one evening when we were having dinner together, a quality in certain conversations that I recognized from my professional work as the specific texture of a person managing multiple versions of a story simultaneously. I did not confront her. Confrontation without evidence is theater, and theater is not my medium. I decided to construct a controlled experiment. I told her I had a conference in Seattle, 4 days, Thursday to Sunday, important enough that I'd be largely unreachable. I booked a flight, a real flight, under my name, departing Thursday morning. I checked in online. I let her see the boarding pass on my phone, the natural way, not staged. I did not get on the plane. I checked in to a hotel 12 minutes from our apartment. I rented a nondescript car, and I began watching the situation with the same methodology I would apply to any data problem, systematic, patient, and without predetermined conclusions. I want to be transparent about what I mean by watching, because this section always gets questions. I did not hack anything.
I did not install software on her devices. What I had access to was our shared Wi-Fi router's traffic logs, accessible from an admin panel on my own router, in my own home, which I paid for, and the Instagram account she had added me as a collaborator on when she needed help with a technical setting 6 months earlier and never removed me from. That collaborator access meant I could see from the back end when she was streaming, how many viewers she had, and the stream's status in real time. I am not a hacker. I am simply a person who reads the documentation that was already available to him. The first 2 days, nothing actionable. Thursday, she posted a story about solo nights in, which is the kind of content that has a dual audience, the followers who take it at face value, and the one person watching from a car down the street who notes that the timestamp on the story is 20 minutes after a car he didn't recognize parked outside our building. Friday, the same car. Saturday, the stream.
I want you to walk you through the 48 hours before the stream, because this is the part of the story that required the most precision. Thursday and Friday gave me enough directional evidence to move forward. I wasn't operating on certainty yet, but in my work you don't wait for certainty. You wait for the threshold where the cost of inaction exceeds the cost of being wrong. I had passed that threshold. Friday evening, I made 2 decisions. The first was to call Priya's father. Rajan is a serious man, warm but serious. He and I had built a genuine rapport over the 18 months I had known him, and I want to be honest. Calling him was the part of this I thought about the longest. Not because I was uncertain about what I'd found, but because I understood what I was setting in motion for his family, and that weight deserved acknowledgement. I told him that I had returned from Seattle early, true, and that I wanted to do something special for Priya. I said I had been thinking about how much her family's blessing had meant to me, and that I wanted to celebrate our engagement with them present, unannounced, as a surprise. I told him I was planning it for Saturday evening and asked if he could gather the family, her mother, her brothers, her grandmother, and arrive at our building at a time I would specify. He was moved. He said it was exactly the kind of gesture a good man makes. I said I needed one thing from them, absolute silence until I gave the signal. No calls to Priya, no texts, no advance notice, part of the surprise. He agreed without hesitation. I spent Saturday preparing. The cake was from a bakery her family liked, not a wedding cake, just a good celebration cake with an inscription that said, "To the next chapter." I had it delivered to a neighbor's apartment in our building, where I had arranged to collect it before going upstairs. I was not cruel about the setup. Her family was not being deceived in a way I'm not proud of. They were there because I was about to end an engagement, and I wanted the people who needed to know the truth to be present when it became undeniable. Not to humiliate Priya in front of strangers, to ensure that the people whose respect she had been trading on were in the room when she no longer had grounds to claim it. At 7:43 p.m., my collaborator access to her Instagram showed a stream go live. I opened it from my phone in the car. She was in our living room.
I want to describe the stream accurately, because the specific details matter more than the summary. The production quality was good. She had her ring light set up, the one she keeps in the corner of the living room. She was on the couch, sitting sideways, comfortable. The apartment looked the way our apartment looks when she has prepared it for content. Pillows arranged, candles lit, the particular staged casualness that takes 20 minutes to achieve and is designed to look effortless. She was talking to her chat the way she always talks on streams, that slightly elevated, slightly performed version of conversational intimacy that her audience responds to. She was talking about my absence. She did not use my name, but she used the phrase, "My fiancé is away for work," in the first 2 minutes. She said it with the affect of a woman who has decided that the framing of the story she is telling is one of earned freedom. The chat was active. Comments were moving fast. She was laughing at things people were saying. Then the man I had seen entering our building Thursday and Friday walked into the frame. He sat down beside her on our couch. She introduced him to her viewers by a first name. She said something to the effect that she was allowed to have company and that what her fiancé didn't know wouldn't hurt him. The chat, from what I could see in the back-end metrics, spiked, view count climbing, engagement rate jumping, 15,000 people. I want to be precise about my emotional state in the car at that moment. I was not enraged. I was not devastated. I felt the specific clarifying calm of a person who has been operating on a hypothesis and has just received confirmation. The experiment had returned a result. The result was clean. I texted Rajan one word, "Now." Then I got out of the car.
The lobby of our building takes 40 seconds to cross when you are walking at a normal pace. I walked at a normal pace. I met Rajan, his wife Meena, Priya's brothers Dev and Arjun, and her grandmother in the lobby. Rajan had tears in his eyes, the good kind, the kind a father gets when he believes his daughter has been chosen with intention. I took the cake from my neighbor, who handed it over without comment. We rode the elevator together. Rajan whispered something to Meena about how Priya was going to be so surprised. Meena squeezed my arm. I have thought about that squeeze many times since. I have my key. I opened the door quietly, the instinct of a person not wanting to ruin a surprise, and for a half-second, the situation in the living room did not register for everyone simultaneously. There was the delay of the human brain processing something that does not fit its active model of the world. The stream camera was still running. The ring light was still on. Priya's face turned toward the door. I have watched the clip since. Preserved copies exist in multiple places, and I have seen her face in that moment more than once. What I saw live in real time was a person trying to run 3 calculations at the same time and failing at all 3 simultaneously. Where I was supposed to be, what her family was doing in her doorway, and what her camera was capturing. The man on the couch stood up. He said something, I didn't catch it exactly, and moved toward the far end of the room. Dev, Priya's older brother, stepped inside and closed the door behind the group, which removed the exit option in that direction in a way that was not physically forceful, but was very final. Meena made a sound I have never heard a person make before or since. Not a scream, something lower and more fundamental than a scream. The sound of a specific kind of understanding arriving. Her grandmother said nothing. She looked at the couch. She looked at Priya. She looked at the camera on the tripod with the ring light beside it. She understood what the camera meant, that this was not private. I set the cake on the counter. I said, very quietly, I came back early. She said my name. I said, your stream is still running. She said my name again. I said, 15,000 people are watching this. You might want to think about that. Someone eventually turned off the stream. The back end showed it terminate at 4 minutes and 17 seconds after I walked in. 4 minutes and 17 seconds of her family in the apartment, of the situation visible to anyone who had been watching. I put my key on the counter beside the cake. I said goodbye to Rajan, who was in a separate room by then, and who did not respond because there was nothing available to him at that moment that could function as a response. I left.
Here is what happened in the weeks that followed, in chronological order. The clip circulated. I want to be clear, I did not post it. I did not share it. I have never distributed the recording to anyone. What I did was exist in a room where a live stream was running, and what that stream captured was beyond my control, or frankly, my responsibility. The clip found its way into the influencer commentary ecosystem on its own. The irony of an influencer being exposed on her own platform during her own live stream in front of her own followers is the kind of narrative that travels without assistance. Several larger accounts reacted to it. Comment sections were extensive. Her account lost roughly 4,000 followers in the first 48 hours, which, for a creator at her level, is a number that affects brand partnership conversations in measurable ways. 2 brands she had tagged in recent content quietly removed her from their affiliate links. Priya's family held what her brother Dev described to me in a brief and uncomfortable phone call he made entirely on his own initiative as a formal family conversation. He did not give me specifics. He said his parents were not speaking to her. He said his grandmother had expressed her position with a finality that was, in his words, not open to revision. He did not ask me to reconsider anything. He called, I believe, because he is a decent person who wanted me to know that his family was not complicit in what had happened, and who wanted to say something in the absence of anything adequate to say. I told him I had always respected his family, and that nothing that had happened had changed that. The man from the couch is, as far as I can determine, no longer in the picture. This I attribute not to conscience, but to arithmetic, the specific calculation a person makes when they weigh the benefit of a situation against its now public cost. The engagement is over. The ring has been returned. My attorney has reviewed the financial entanglements, and they are thankfully limited enough that the unwinding is manageable. I'm including this one because I've been asked about my emotional state repeatedly, and I want to give an honest answer. I'm fine. Not performing fine. Actually fine. Which I recognize is not the expected answer, and which I'll explain briefly. I did not love the version of Priya that I discovered she actually was. I loved the version of her that she had presented, and losing that version is a real loss, and I don't minimize it. But the version I discovered was not something I had built my life around. It was something that had been substituted for the thing I thought I was building my life around, without my knowledge or consent. Getting free of a substitution is not the same as losing what you thought you had. That distinction has made the last 2 months significantly more navigable than they might otherwise have been. I want to close with something that is not advice, because I'm not qualified to give advice about your specific situation, and I don't pretend otherwise. I'll just tell you what I observed. Priya did not end up on that stream because I exposed her. She ended up on that stream because she put herself there. She built the platform. She turned on the camera. She made the choices that placed her in that living room with that person in front of her audience on the night her family walked in. I constructed the conditions under which those choices would be visible. That is different from causing the choices.
The most powerful position you can occupy in a situation like this is not the position of someone who acts, it is the position of someone who creates the space in which another person is free to reveal exactly who they are, and then simply ensures that the right audience is present to see it clearly. I didn't expose Priya. She exposed herself. I just made sure her family and her followers were watching at the same time. The stream ran for 4 minutes and 17 seconds after I walked in. That's all it took.